Hello, hello. Welcome to the Fightcraft Podcast with me, your host, your friend, your insane friend, Klein Wong, who will not stop shouting into the void about MMA. What about real problems? Our roads are bad, infrastructure, the border, yada yada, women's rights. What about them? Did you see what Merab did to Umar last night? Do you know about Peyton Talbot taking his first loss? I mean, do you know about these things? Who could possibly care about other shit going on when you've got a wild weekend of MMA? The UFC is back. The UFC is back. We are so damn back. It's not even funny. We're getting a bit of breaking news now, actually. Levels of back being seen like never before. No, I mean, we have some fun here. It's been a good weekend. And, of course, I know we had Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Hebos 2 a week ago, but this felt like the real return of the UFC. If you're one of those guys who watches and simps over hot girls who can also fight, I mean, I'm sure it was back for you last weekend as you had your pants around your ankles and you're, waiting for the prelims to start. But I mean, for me, the real, when you're studying like the meta of mixed martial arts, when you're just in the fucking trenches out here and you're so excited, UFC 311 brought back the UFC and kicked off the doors for what I'm hoping is going to be just a wild year of MMA. And I mean, it was a stacked card. We had a lot of great fights last night. And a good night for underdogs, too. I mean, if you want to, good night for the underdogs. Bernardo Sopaj definitely won. Me and Durain kind of had our picks up before this, and we kind of went over, what might be next for the winners and losers of each fight. So if you have a moment, you want to go review that, go ahead and do that. It's on my YouTube channel. Please please subscribe, leave a comment on the video, tell your friends. Just let the channel play in the background. You can put it on mute. I don't care. And, help me out here. We had a great night of fights. We had, the early prelims were whatever. Said simps with their pants around their ankles were probably loving Aylin Perez's return as she defeats Carol Rosa and climbs to 12-2. And did a little bit of a dance for you guys. Don't worry, she did a dance. She shook her butt, and then we were able to move on to the actual prelims. Bogdan Gustaf beat Billy Alicana. Zachary Reese lost to Azamat Bekoev. And Peyton Talbot, big story out of the prelims last night. Peyton Talbot taking his first loss against Raoni Barcelos. I did not have Barcelos winning, and I think it was something like 1,000-1 odds that Peyton Talbot was going to win. And I mean, the dude got his first L. I wish I had put money on that. That's so wild. And of course, a stacked main card, headlining by Islam Makhachev versus the late replacement Renato Moicano. Merab Dvalishvili just dismantled the unbeaten Nurmagomedov dynasty. Jiri Prochazka looked fine in his return against Jamal Hill, both former champions. At heavyweight, we had Jailton Almeida and Sergey Spivak. Jailton Almeida, I think, emerging as the next top contender after the interim champion Tom Aspinall. And Kevin Holland taking on Reinier de Ridder, who looked a lot better in his second UFC performance than he did against Gerald Meerschaert in the first one. Just a great night of fights here all around. I was really excited. I almost didn't have a way to watch it, and then me and my friends ended up grabbing the stream, and we gave ESPN Plus our money, our hard-earned money, and we dished out $80 for what was a very satisfying purchase in the end. So let's go ahead here and let us take a look. Weird. That's not working how it's supposed to. There we go. Custom layout 1. Okay. A little bit of a technical issue there. So we had, as I just read off the results here last night, let's dive right into it. Reinier de Ridder with a great win over Kevin Holland. I can't play the footage for you. I don't want the UFC's intern to go ahead and ban me. But de Ridder, looking great. getting it done in the first round via rear naked choke. Durain and I discussed his jiu-jitsu and his grappling and how it wasn't necessarily the scariest grappling in that division. I mean, Christ, you've got Khamzat Chimaev at 185, but definitely a solid performance from Reinier de Ridder, who walked out to Big Egos by Dr. Dre off of Chronic 2001. I don't know if anyone else caught that. Such a cold song. For one of my fights, my amateur, I'm in no way am I trying to compare my experience to professionals, but for one of my amateur fights, they wouldn't let me use my normal walkout song, and Big Egos was on the short list for the song that I asked them to play. What did I go with? So at my walkout is usually the Come Together cover by Gary Clark Jr., ripping it on the guitar, but they wouldn't let me play that one, and it was Big Egos or Love Gun by Kiss, and I think I ended up going with Love Gun. And of course, that fight, they switched the bout order. I had to walk out. I walked out. They told me I had to walk out in like 8 minutes after they told me I walked out because I was not ready. We thought one of my teammates was going to go before me, and so the songs had just played through. I told my family, like, hey, when you hear Love Gun by Kiss, that's when I'm walking out, and they heard it, and then they went down the playlist, and there was a little bit of confusion there, but nonetheless, everybody gets it done, and we had a good time watching Reinier de Ridder last night. I mean, Durain is not as high on this guy as I am. I'm not super high on him, but I think that there's something to be said for this guy. He was the PFL champion, right? He comes over here. Or was he 1FC champion? Let's see. Was he 1FC or was he PFL? I thought it was PFL. Reinier de Ridder. Excuse me. He was the 1FC champion. I believe at light heavyweight over there, their weight classes are a little bit different than the UFC. But nonetheless, Reinier de Ridder makes light work of Kevin Holland, submits him in round 1 via rear naked choke. You see he's got the body triangle slapped on there. No easy feat because Kevin Holland is a great grappler. I think people give him a hard time because he makes questionable decisions. But I mean, and he got that crazy loss to Khamzat Chimaev, on like 12 hours notice or something, and got choked out in the first round. But I mean, Kevin Holland's got legit grappling and is an experienced veteran of the division, and Reinier de Ridder came in there and just took his lunch money, dude. Not much else to say. Reinier de Ridder, after the fight, was asked who he wanted next, and this man wants to get right in there. This man wants to go up there. I mean, he threw out names like Khamzat Chimaev, threw out Robert Whittaker. He wants to go in there and really start making a run for the title. He's a veteran of the sport. He's got a lot of fights on him, and I don't think he's too long in the tooth here. Let's see. How old is Reinier de Ridder? Reinier de Ridder is 34 years old. Okay, not exactly a young buck. Not exactly the oldest guy on the roster either, especially at middleweight, but I mean, probably going to want to make that title run now, especially while he's got this little bit of heat going to him. So let's see what Reinier de Ridder had to say in the post-fight presser here.
You'd like a top 5 guy. The top 5 names right now are Dricus, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Khamzat Chimaev, Robert Whittaker, and
Sounds good.
Which one?
Sounds good, all of them.
The only 2 who are unbooked are Khamzat and Whittaker.
Yes.
Which one?
Khamzat and Whittaker, yeah.
Okay.
Khamzat would be cool for a grapplers matchup. Whittaker would be cool for all that he's done. Yeah, please. I hope they give me this. It would be amazing. I can be ready as soon as they are. Israel and Imavov will fight soon as well. So one of them would work too. Yeah.
Regardless of who you get next, do you think it's time you get a 5-round main event for your next fight?
You tell him, please. If that's what I deserve, that would be awesome. We'll see what I get. I'm happy with what happened tonight. I'm gonna enjoy a little bit, and then I can be back in the gym next week.
There you have it, folks. Brought to you by MMA Junkie there. Love MMA Junkie. Go ahead and check them out if you don't already. But if you're watching my shitty show, I'm sure you probably are up on MMA Junkie's website, X feed, whatever, to get the latest highlights of MMA news. So Reinier de Ridder, calling for a top 5 fight, and I think he's definitely earned it. Let me know in the comment section if you do not agree. But let's take a look at this little ditty that we call the top of middleweight. Reinier de Ridder. I don't believe these have been updated yet. De Ridder not even cracking the top 15 just yet. I think he would have a fine fight with any of these guys in the top 15, as low as Michel Pereira. I would say him against Paulo Costa would be awesome. Brendan Allen would be awesome. Roland Dolidze would be awesome. Marvin Vettori, who we've not seen in a while, I would say would be a good fight. But, I mean, why bury the lead with De Ridder? He's a fresh face. He's submitted both of his opponents in the UFC, and he's calling for a top 5. So let's see what he does, right? I would say that Meerschaert and Holland are solid tests for a guy who was a champion in the other organization that he was in, but he also has come here and he's shown that he can not only make the weight, but he can perform, and he's getting finishes. I would say, I don't think he should fight Adesanya or Khamzat just yet. I don't even necessarily think he should fight Whittaker, but any one of those other guys, I guess you could make the case that Whittaker would be a good next fight for him. I think Reinier de Ridder versus Robert Whittaker actually would be a great one. And Whittaker coming off a loss, that would be a good way to tell where he's at in the division. Certainly his best days are probably behind him. I think he could make another run at the title. I think he could win if he fought DDP again. But the question we're asking here is that going to be like the same as his best days at 185? I'm not sure. I think De Ridder versus Whittaker would be about as high as I would match him up against. But he also threw out Caio Borralho. I think that would be a great fight. I really do. I think that would be a great fight. Caio Borralho is a fucking firecracker in the cage, and I think that would be a good one. But also if you wanted to give him someone like Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori, those would be great fights too, and those would be a little bit more. There is a little bit of a jam up at the top, so what's the rush? If he fought again in the next 6 months and he fought maybe like a lower ranked contender, like maybe a Brendan Allen or a Vettori or a Costa or Dolidze, I think that's a fine fight, and I think that definitely sets him up for a late summer or fall matchup with a maybe title elimination on the title eliminator kind of like bout for De Ridder. And so, just a wild one right there. Next fight I didn't have too much to say about. We had Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. Fun fight for sure here at the in Los Angeles. Gets it done in round 1, almost at the buzzer at 4:53 of round 1 did Jailton Almeida. Sergey Spivak certainly had something for him as well. It wasn't exactly the worst performance we've seen from Spivak. Caused some trouble there, but Almeida coming in, getting another finish. These photos by All Elbows at MMAfighting.com rather. Almeida just looking like a savage, ends up getting the ground and pound. I think he hit I believe it was an elevator sweep. I'll have to go back and check. Spivak was on top, and Almeida using beautiful jiu-jitsu, especially at heavyweight, man. Using beautiful jiu-jitsu to reverse the position, get on top, and then pound out Mr. Spivak here, and the ref had no choice but to go in and stop it. And Almeida definitely stamping his claim as another one of the top contenders at heavyweight. And I gotta tell you, I don't think Gane is that guy. We have John Jones and we have Tom Aspinall, and they need to fight. Let's make no mistake here. They need to fight. Especially if John is going to hold on to that belt, they need to fight. That is a great one. Maybe, and I know John has made the case that, I've fought these guys before. I've fought these up in contenders. Okay, well, not at heavyweight you haven't. You did fight Cyril Gane, but I think the heat had kind of cooled off on Cyril Gane at the time, and I don't think that he was the exact same that Aspinall is. And with Jailton Almeida was at 6 before this fight, I think he's going to jump up to number 3 or so. You could give him a fight against Volkov, but I think Volkov should fight, I don't know, someone else. He is technically coming off of a loss, so you could match him up against Spivak next if Spivak is cleared to fight. But Almeida should definitely he should crack the top 3 or 4, and he should be in line. I think he should fight Cyril Gane next, and that should be a fight that I think we look to see where the division is going to move after Jones and hopefully Aspinall fight, and what kind of look it'll take, because I don't see John Jones staying around for too long, so I wonder what will happen after they do fight. And yeah, just a great one. I don't have much to say about that. I mean, that sweep that he hit on Sergey Spivak was beautiful. I wish I could show it. Beautiful, beautiful sweep that Jailton Almeida hit. I believe it was an elevator sweep. And so let's get to the fight that really kind of woke me up here, and that was Jiri Prochazka defeating Jamal Hill at 3 minutes and 1 second of round number 3. A great performance by Jiri, better than some previous performances defensively. Still, I think Luke Thomas would say leaves a lot to be desired from Jiri Prochazka defensively, and I think that it kind of puts Jiri Prochazka in an interesting position now, because he's lost now twice to the champion, Alex Pereira, and we don't know really what is next for either man. You know, Alex Pereira obviously fights Magomed Ankalaev, but after that fight, what does he do? Does he stay at light heavyweight? Does he move to heavyweight? Does he retire? You know, does he go back down to middleweight? I doubt it. Maybe Israel Adesanya wins his next fight against Imavov and wants to challenge at light heavyweight. Certainly you can make that rubber match and it would do gangbuster numbers, but I don't know. And I think that Jiri Prochazka, if he were to fight Pereira again, I don't think he would win. I think he still showed some of the same bad tendencies that we see. While he did definitely clean up his defense a little bit, he definitely still also showed that he has holes. And a striker like Alex Pereira, you know, if your best bet is striking, if your best part of your game is striking and you're going against that guy, I mean, you would have to be better than a Glory kickboxing champ, multiple-time Glory kickboxing champion, Alex Pereira. And I just don't see Jiri having made enough changes to really alter that game. Now, if Jiri could add some takedowns and some ability to dictate where the fight goes on the ground, I would favor him more heavily in a third match against Alex Pereira. But at 2 losses against the champion and a little bit of a logjam at the division, I just don't know. The fans are certainly behind Jiri, right? The fans love Jiri, but I just don't know if I have as much of an appetite personally. Look at some of these pictures. I mean, beautiful shots to Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill cracked him too. A foul-heavy fight. I want to say 2 nut kicks and an eye poke. 2 eye pokes and a nut kick, something like that, and it was like, oh no, like you saw Jamal Hill kicked him in the cup, but stayed defensively sound the whole time, even until the ref jumped in and stopped it. And credit to Jamal Hill, he also showed improvements in this fight. He was bouncing around on his feet, and his stomach was bouncing more than his actual feet, where it was kind of wild to see. I wonder what kind of shape he was in for this fight. And Jiri Prochazka just very, very, very well done on both the feet and when Jamal Hill was on the ground, when he was kind of standing over that open guard of Jamal Hill's, delivering the final blows, and Jiri coming in and getting it and beating cancer. You know, Jiri shaved off his beautiful little top knot ponytail thing for a fan of his who loves him. He brought her out the weigh-ins and you know, in solidarity shaved his head and was able to get the win. So just a heartwarming story there. Little bit of you know, much respect from Jamal Hill after the fight, going over and giving Jiri Prochazka his props and letting him know, like, hey man, you know, good fight. Jamal Hill showing some grace in defeat here, and not taking to Twitter or X rather for tirades about how he would have had it if so and so hadn't happened. Jamal Hill getting a lot of respect after, I think, from the fans, hopefully well deserved, you know. Or hopefully he does, and it is well-deserved. Jamal Hill fought his ass off, and it was a fun fight. It was 2 big boys. It was a fun fight. looked like maybe Jamal might have it there for a little bit, maybe just in the first round. There were a couple of moments there, so it wasn't exactly like he was outgunned or anything. Jamal Hill, definitely a solid fighter. And what might be next for Jamal Hill? I would say Jan Blachowicz has not fought since he lost to a close loss to Alex Pereira back in 2023. I would say Jamal Hill versus Jan would be a great fight. Alexander Rakic is out there. Carlos Ulberg is surging. I would say Jamal Hill could fight Carlos Ulberg, and Khalil Roundtree Jr. Is also waiting in the wings. You know, coming off of his loss, I'd like to see what he's done to shore up his game, but I don't know if that would be the right direction for Jamal Hill. Fighting someone as low as number 7. Of course, the rankings haven't been updated yet, so we'll have to see where Jamal Hill fits into all of this. Yeah, the memes last night did not disappoint. Jiri, I've trained to make sure this fight, I keep my hands up. Jiri, 10 seconds into round 1. Yeah, it was a weird one. Apparently, standing under a waterfall and screaming in nature is the best base for MMA, at least at light heavyweight, at least in Jiri Prochazka's world. So it looks like he was able to get it done, and I'm curious as to see what is going to happen here. You had a little bit of trolling from Alex Pereira. I don't really want to play the video because they pan over to the ring and I don't want to get it flagged, but trolling Jamal Hill and Jiri Prochazka during his fight. The guy, of course, has wins over both of them. Hey, kids, stop fighting. I'm going to have to use my belt. I fucking love it. What gets lost in the translation of a lot of these international fighters when they don't speak English is that they're usually pretty funny. They usually have personality. To be a fighter, you typically have some kind of personality. I mean, these are wild people. And Alex Pereira is definitely no stranger to memes. Of course, doing that old number after he beat Jamal Hill, and then of course took to X to give some props to Jiri Prochazka. Great performance, Jiri. Chama. And, you love to see it. You do love to see it. You love to see it. Who should Jiri Prochazka fight next? I don't think he should fight for the title next. I think Jiri Prochazka, I'm not really a huge fan of waiting, or at least announcing that you're waiting for a title shot, but after you beat Jamal Hill, what was the next move gonna be? Magomed Ankalaev is fighting for the belt. Unfortunately, Pereira is the champion, has 2 wins over him, and so I don't think a title shot is coming anytime soon, but I would say Jiri could wait. I would say Jiri could... it makes most sense to wait, right? If he needs to get one more, if the UFC brass were a little bit hesitant to give Jiri another fight so soon for the title, Carlos Ulberg actually kind of makes sense. He is surging, and I think Jiri could beat him. Jan Blachowicz is, of course, coming off of a closely contested loss to the champion, but I think that might be the fight for Jiri. Jamal Hill, I would say Alexander Rakic or Carlos Ulberg. Ulberg surging. I slept on him for a little bit. I think he's going to be at least a top contender. I'd like to see how he does against some of the actual taller, bigger boys at light heavyweight. So now we get to my fight of the night. And I had a feeling this fight was going to be great. And Durain, for a long time, I guess Durain Miller, who's been on the last 2 episodes, one is a Merab hater, but also 2 was not sure this fight was going to be good. And then after, grappling used to be really boring in MMA for a while, lay and pray, a lot of that stuff, and it is back in an exciting way. And what really opened my eyes to this was Merab Dvalishvili's teammate, Aljamain Sterling, a couple weeks ago when he fought Movsar Evloev, just doing the damn thing. Barn burner of a fight against Evloev, and he lost closely contested. I had Aljamain. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But some of those scrambles they were in were absolutely incredible. And you saw the same in this. I had Umar winning the first 2 rounds, and I was like, man, I think he's going to drag Merab down. And Merab comes back and really starts turning it on. You saw he would grab a hold of the single, and the way he snaps the single leg down so effectively, so disrespectfully, I mean, how many times did Merab get a hold of Umar's single leg, snap him down, and not follow him to the ground? Just dance or showboat or just, I mean, Merab, absolutely incredible performance here. And coming back from a rocky start in the beginning for sure. And I don't know what else to say. I was worried about Merab in these weeks leading up to the fight. And I was like, he doesn't have the knockout power. He doesn't have the submission finishing ability really on the ground. And I wonder what he's going to do when the cardio kind of starts to go downhill as he gets maybe a little bit older, because I draw a likeness to like the Colby Covington thing where like same thing, great control, great octagon control on the feet and on the ground. And then once he gets you on the ground, not devastating ground and pound, not really a submission hunter. And so then when you've seen him in recent fights, he kind of goes downhill because when all you have is that pace, I mean, you're going to meet guys who can either match that pace or withstand it, and maybe their skills are so good in the other end, whether it's submission ability, whether it's defense on the ground off your back like sweeps, or whether it's just striking offense on the feet and not letting you get your game plan off. I mean, then when the cardio and the pace kind of fades, you don't have those other things to fall back on. I wonder if Merab is going to have that, but I can't see it for now. I mean, I just don't know who we're going to have challenge Merab Dvalishvili. And I mean, if you look at the bantamweight rankings here, who else is left? Who else is left right now? I mean, Peter Yan is who people are clamoring for. Sean O'Malley still coming off of the injury and recovery, looking good. In his recovery, says his coach Tim Welch, but I mean, not ready for a title fight yet. Umar just got his ass handed to him. Petr Yan, I guess, coming off of a historic loss against Merab, but, looking pretty good in his last few fights, wants another crack at it. Corey Sandhagen coming off a loss. Davison Figueiredo, a loss. Marlon Vera, a loss. I mean, you don't even know who's next at 135. And some people are saying Pantoja is the guy to give Pantoja a shot at 2 division titles, because he has also cleaned out his division. And I gotta say, I don't hate that idea. Pantoja's decently big for 125. Not the biggest. Not as big as Asakura or Steve Erceg, but still a solid dude. I would be very interested to see what he could do to Merab Dvalishvili and see if he could withstand the pace or maybe find an opening in Merab's game on the feet that we haven't seen. And I think that would be a great fight. I would love to see Pantoja challenge, because Pantoja has really cleaned out the division. Merab basically, but I mean, Pantoja's had multiple rematches with multiple contenders, and it's like so much so that they had to bring in Asakura from Japan to come in and challenge for the title and get some new blood in there. I'm not sure what I think would happen, but I think that's the fight to make. And it's kind of weird to say this. I mean, who else would there be? Petr Yan, I guess, for Merab, but I don't know. I really don't know. And it's like, who else would Petr Yan have? I would say put Petr against Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar broke his hand last night, so we'll have to see what his turnaround time is. But Merab's medical suspension was 7 days. He could fight next weekend. I don't know, man. I think a quick turn, dude. I think Pantoja versus Merab is the fight to make. Merab asked after the fight about his, is he the greatest of all time at 135? Let's listen in.
You have headlined the highest gate in UFC history. You have the most win streak in bantamweight history, most control time. Are you the greatest bantamweight fighter in the history of the UFC?
No, Aljamain Sterling is the greatest. Yeah. And don't forget Dominic Cruz is one of the greatest.
Great respect there by Merab Dvalishvili for shouting out his teammate Aljamain, former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. I mean, the class on that guy, the absolute brotherhood those two must have from hours and days of just dog workouts in the gym where they're fighting with one another and exposing each other's flaws and then building each other back up and like not fighting each other for the belt. You see sometimes these guys that are teammates, they end up turning on each other. Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington, for example. turning on each other and fighting for the belt when one of them becomes champ. I mean, not those guys. And you saw Aljo in his corner. I mean, just the look of brotherhood that those two have from an outside perspective, it's beautiful to see. Merab Dvalishvili really showcasing and making MMA X last night go crazy. I mean, taunting a Nurmagomedov for not being able to get a takedown is insane, says MMA Orbit. I mean, absolutely. Last night woke me. I knew Merab was really good. I mean, I thought it was crazy if you didn't think he was good. I thought you were a salty dog like Durain Miller if you didn't think Merab was that good. But, I mean, last night really showcasing how good he is. I mean, destroying the Nurmagomedov dynasty in Khabib, Umar, and over in Bellator, PFL, I'm not sure now, but over in another organization, Usman Nurmagomedov. I mean, all of them undefeated now except for Umar. I think it's absolutely insane. I would love to see Merab go fight Ilya too. I'm not sure if he'd be big enough, but I mean, I would love to see Merab versus Ilya. Ilya's fucking huge at 145. I think if he's gonna take on a challenger from another division, I would say it should be Pantoja, But what a great fight. Merab Dvalishvili, if he does not have your respect now, then you're a filthy casual. You really are. You need to show this man some damn respect because he went out there and did what we haven't seen. And now we've learned now. What does it take to defeat a Nurmagomedov and that Dagestani style of wrestling? You need an incredible gas tank, and you need your own phenomenal wrestling. Umar had those straight kicks. They were looking beautiful. Cracked Merab with a couple of them. But, I mean, that pace, that ability to defend and then flip to offense in the wrestling department, we've learned that is what is needed. That is what is needed to take on a Dagestani, especially of the Abdulmanap ilk, right? Those boys who are over there coming out from Khabib's father's, rest in peace, training camp. Unreal. Fightcraft Podcast powered by Zyn. Zyn. Dagestani handcuff giving you trouble? Having trouble at work? Your lady friends? Filthy casuals? Zyn is here for you. Pop one of those and exit the Matrix, my friends. Exit the Matrix. Not officially sponsored by Zyn, but one day we will. Now, a little bit more of what was on MMA X last night. The MMA guru, a morbidly obese man with a beanie, who I often don't agree with. I did agree with this one, and I had to give him his props for such a good take. I mean, quote, I hope you guys are aware of the fact that Merab Dvalishvili just cemented himself as the UFC's greatest bantamweight of all time. There is no debate. If he were to retire now, he would be the 135 GOAT. Don't wait until 10 years after his retirement to give props, end quote. And I could not agree more. Merab Dvalishvili saying Aljamain Sterling and Dominic Cruz are both GOATs ahead of him at 135. I mean, I respect Aljamain, and I don't love all the hate that he gets, and I'm a huge Dominic Cruz fan. But what Merab has done at 135 and who he's done it to absolutely floors me, and I can't wait to see what he does next. I mean, let's just take a quick look at Merab Dvalishvili's fight history. Let's see this run that he's on here. Let's see this run. I mean, Jesus, going all the way back here. War, Katana, Kenny, Lopez, Dodson, Stamen. Remember Corey Stamen? Mariash, Aldo, King Ahio, Piotr Jan, Cejudo, O'Malley, and now Nurmagomedov. If he is not the best bantamweight, I mean, all of these, multiple divisional champions he's beaten in O'Malley, in Cejudo, in Jan, in Aldo. If he's not your best bantamweight, I challenge you to show me who is. I do. Beating them, beating who he's beating, how he's beating them, and then his ability to run away with it at the end of the fight, right in the championship rounds 4 and 5, his ability to run away with these performances absolutely floors me, and I am so happy that Merab Dvalishvili exists in my time as a UFC fan, as an MMA fan writ large. Merab Dvalishvili, 92 takedowns, the most in UFC history, not bantamweight, UFC history. More than George St. Pierre. I mean, give this guy his due. Give this guy his due, for sure. Merab Dvalishvili, absolutely stunning performance there. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, they gave him only 7 days medical suspension. This dude is ready to fight next week. Book the Pantoja fight. Book it. Let's give those divisions time to cook. If Pantoja loses, there's no shame on it. He's coming out of his division against Merab. If Merab loses, well, now we have some movement at 135. Give Merab his due and book him a big fight. Book him a big fight. And this brings me to our last fight of the night. Islam Makhachev defends his UFC lightweight title against Renato Moicano, late replacement, on about 24 hours notice via submission at 4 minutes and 5 seconds of round number 1. Submission, I think they're calling it a Bravo choke. Luke Thomas is calling it a short choke. A variation of a Darce, where you're feeding your hands through. I believe this was the grip as opposed to this. I'll have to go back and look. But Islam Makhachev making quick work of Renato Moicano. Renato had a couple of cool moments, brief moments, but a couple of cool moments. He stung Makhachev with 1 or 2 strikes, but all it took was one shot for Islam Makhachev to go in there and handle him and put that fight on the ground and pressure him with top control, allow him to escape. That's the very important thing, right? He's not just here smothering, keeping Moicano in the same spot. He is allowing Moicano to think that he sees a window out, try to escape, and then creates a scramble off of it and snatches up that submission. Islam Makhachev, he is your pound per pound number 1. Absolutely. And Dana White saying as much after the event last night. Let's listen in.
People say that because of that, Islam deserves some maybe pound for pound number 1 rankings.
He's already the pound for pound number 1 ranking.
But is he yours?
Yeah. I'll give it to him.
Fair.
You have it there, folks, from the boss himself. Islam Makhachev is your pound for pound number 1 fighter. I mean, you love to see it. You love to see this shit. It is so good that I have to pull up our pound for pound rankings here as MMA fans. I mean, you thought it was him maybe before. There was some testimony that John Jones was, right? Dana White stepping in at the RNC to introduce Trump, but not before giving a quick declaration that John Jones was the pound for pound fighter. I'm just kidding. I was at the RNC. He didn't do that. But, Islam Makhachev, what can you say, dude? The dude is beating everybody. He's submitted everybody recently. Like, the dude is so good. As a dude who is a little bit salty that he beat my boy Charlie Olives, you got to give it to him. The dude is out there finishing fights and not even close. Not even close have any of these fights been. I mean, let's take a look here. I saw this posted. I wanted to throw this up. Islam Makhachev's win streak. What we got here? Let's make this a little bit bigger if I can. Chris Wade, Nick Lentz, Gleison Tebow, Cajun Johnson, Armin Saryukian, Davi Ramos, Drew Dober, Thiago Moises, Dan Hooker, late replacement Dan Hooker, Bobby Green, late replacement Bobby Green, Charles Oliveira, Alexander Volkanovski twice, finishing him by head kick the second time, Dustin Poirier, and now Renato Moicano. Give this man a crown. I don't know who beats him. I really don't. I will say Charles Oliveira stands the best chance. Charles Oliveira stands the best chance. I have a feeling Islam Makhachev is here to stay. But I think it's Charles Oliveira who has the best chance. Perhaps Armin Saryukian next. But I would say Charles Oliveira. I mean, who else do you put against this guy? Who do you feed to him? I don't think he took any damage. He's probably ready to fight again in a week, just like Merab. I don't know who else. I don't know where we go from here. Let me know in the comments if you have a suggestion. Please leave a fucking comment for Christ's sake. Please let me know who does Makhachev fight? People are saying Topuria. I have no appetite for that fight. People are saying he should move up to welterweight. I have no appetite for that. I don't think he fights Bilal. They train together. I don't think he fights Shavkat. Shavkat trained with Abdulmanap as well for a time, not anymore, of course, and then left camps. But I don't know. I really don't, and I struggle to see who is the next clear title contender. I guess you could say Arman, but I mean he just had a back injury. Probably Charlie Olives, coming off a loss from Islam, or not coming off of a loss, but has that loss to Islam already. Would love to see him avenge it, especially because it was like a bad decision that kind of kick-started the sequence that really ended that fight. But, I mean, Dustin Poirier, no. Gaethje, no. Gaethje and Hooker are fighting next. I would say if Hooker beats Gaethje, give him the shot. But, I mean, who do we have? I really don't know. And it's something to behold, man. Last night was a great night in the co-main and main events specifically, but a great night for MMA fans who want to witness some of the greats. I mean, I've been fortunate enough. I've been a fan for probably over a decade now of this sport, and I've been fortunate enough to see some guys come and go who are all-time greats. Whether I jumped in the middle of their title reign or I kind of like saw the rise, like I saw Conor McGregor go from nothing to calling out everybody to his Aldo win. I've seen it and I've lived it, and I think that it's something to behold. I've seen Volkanovski, I've seen Max Holloway, and like Islam Makhachev and Islam Makhachev, excuse me, Islam Makhachev and Merab Dvalishvili are absolutely going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And we are privileged to see them do this. And they're doing this, MMA went through a little bit of a meta change where wrestling was the thing, but it wasn't as exciting as what we see now. I mean, this style of wrestling that we have in the UFC amongst the greats, it is something to behold. It is fun. It is fast-paced. It is smothering. And oftentimes it's leading to submissions now and ground and pound finishes. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's hear what Islam Makhachev had to say. He had all jokes after the fight. And I love it. I can't wait to see him fight next. Let's see what he had to say.
Feel good. Now tell everybody, Khabib, we don't have to training so hard 3 months for the 3 minutes. 1 month enough for the training camp. Thank you, everybody.
Tell Khabib we don't have to train so hard anymore. I mean, he's right. Probably why he's winning the fights in this fashion, but I mean, who is going to contend with this guy? I don't know. So that's it. That's all I got. Quick little 40-minute podcast for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas on who these two in the main and co-main should fight at 135, 155. I say Charles Oliveira for Islam and Pantoja for Merab, but let's see. Please go ahead and subscribe to this. Catch me on X or Instagram if that's your jam, @KleinWong_. And let's see. I mean, we got an exciting year of events coming up, or at least the next quarter for what we know. What's the next fight? Next fight is February 1st. We have Adesanya versus Imavov. That's going to be a fun one. I'm really excited to see where Adesanya's at now. We have Saeed Nurmagomedov coming up, 18-3 at bantamweight. He's going to fight Vinicius Oliveira. Sergey Pavlovich fighting Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And Bullet Magomedov fighting Venom Page. And, of course, the headline, Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win any of those fights. Let me know what you think about UFC 311. Did you have fun? I just hope everybody had fun. That's all I want. And for now, that will be it for me. Have a great day, my friends.